This installation is going to be for the dashboard power outlet direct to battery connection available from Advanced Sport Touring. The first step to our installation is going to be to pull the outlet retention bracket out of the package, and this is going to snap into this opening right here. It only goes in one way, and you'll know it's seated firmly when you hear it snap in. When you chose your kit, you had the option of either using a dual USB setup or your standard cigarette outlet setup. For installation purposes, there is no difference. They install exactly the same. We're going to go ahead and use the cigarette outlet for this purpose. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the bottom of the outlet, and you're going to see two metal prongs. Both are labeled with a plus and a minus. You want to remember which is on which side so that when you flip it over and put it in, you'll be able to make your connections properly. Because once you put it in and tighten it up, you can't see from underneath which side is which. Okay, then just slide it in. Next, we're going to take the outlet retaining ring, and you're going to thread it on from the bottom. And you don't need to use any tools. Just tighten it hand tight. I'll go ahead and close this. Next, from the kit, you're going to want to go ahead and pull out your wiring. You have a fuse holder. Your fuse goes in there. These are readily available fuses at any auto parts store. You have the connections to the battery, and then the connections to the outlet. Included in the kit is a black piece of heat shrink tubing. What you're going to do is you're going to slide that over to the end with these two connectors that connect to the outlets. And then go ahead and connect your connections to the bottom of the outlet. Red is going to be positive, black is going to be negative. With those connections made, we're going to go ahead and run the rest of the wiring to the battery. The next step is going to be to gain access to the battery. To do that, we're going to go over to the side of the bike and remove our cover. And if you reach underneath and pull, this is a slip connection into a piece of rubber, so you're just pulling out. You don't have to worry about breaking anything. And then go ahead and remove the 4 bolts. Once you remove the bolts, you can pull this cover off. Now what you're going to do is you're going to remove the ground for the battery, which is the bottom bolt. And then pull the power cable out of this little catch. You can pull the whole battery out. You can pull the whole battery out, turn it, and then set it on your foot peg. Inside of the battery box, you'll see a red plug attached with 2 terminals. We're going to go ahead and attach our red wire to the left side terminal. The easiest way I've found to get the wiring to the battery compartment is going to be to take off your top piece here, your fuel tank cover. There's 3 bolts, 2 here, 1 down a little further. I'll go ahead and do that. The next step is going to be to remove the bolt that's holding the fairing down right here, and to remove this bolt. I've already removed this one. I'll take this one out. After you take out those 2 bolts, take out the bolt right here, and then that'll allow you to pull up a little bit on here, a little bit on here, and then you can pass your wire straight through there. The best way to get the wire from this compartment over into the battery compartment, I've found, is take a piece of electrical tape, wrap up the wires. This is just to keep them together. Then take a piece of stiff wire and wrap it around. Try not to hit your bike with the wire as much as I am. Then feed your wire from one side to the other. You'll be able to see it, there's enough gap. Then we'll use the wire, the stiff wire, to pull the power outlet wire through into the compartment. Wiggle it down. Now that we have our wiring into the battery compartment, we're going to go ahead and start connecting the wires. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to loosen this terminal on the left side, and we're going to slide the red wire, the red spade, underneath the bolt, and then tighten it back up. Okay. Now you want to go ahead and put the battery in, back into the battery compartment, the same way it came out. Turn it. Move your wires out of the way. Slide it back in. Let's go ahead and connect our ground terminals back up. So the wires that we're going to do are the same ones that we took off, plus our new spade. And then before you tighten it up, you want to put your black cover on to make sure that nothing's going to be in the way. You can see that one needs to move. And when you're sure there's not going to be any interference from the wiring, you can go ahead and tighten it up with your wrench. And then open up your fuse holder, put in a fuse, and then test the outlet. You're going to want to plug in a GPS or anything that uses a cigarette adapter and make sure that everything's working properly. Once you've done that, go ahead and tuck everything away. And you want to keep the fuse holder in a place where you can get to it if you were to pop a fuse. Put your black cover to the battery back on and tighten up the bolts. And then take your plastic cover and slide it in and push it in. Put the bolt back in. And then you need to put the bolts that you took out of the fairing back in. Now we're going to put our fuel tank cover back on. Two bolts here, one bolt here. You want to go ahead and move your wiring so that it's not going to interfere with the functioning of the bike. Zip tie it to the areas that are most convenient, that aren't going to interfere with the movement of the bike. And then you're going to want to move your shrink wrap up onto the bottom of the outlet. And this does have writing on it, so you're going to want to turn that towards the inside of the bike so that you don't have to see it. And now you're going to want to take a lighter or a heat shrink gun, set on low so you don't melt the rest of the bike, and put your flame as much around it as you can. And that'll shrink to the bottom of the outlet. And then you can go ahead and follow through and do this to the rest of the heat shrink tubing. It's a 2-to-1 shrink, so it'll get pretty small. And this takes a minute. You don't want to keep it on one place for too long. And then once you're complete, go ahead and retest the outlet, make sure everything's good. And that is the end of the installation.